Alright, today we're going to be working on getting this aftermarket shifter from B&M installed in this 50 shoebox. And I got this on eBay, I think. eBay or Amazon, can't remember. 250 bucks, 300 bucks, I think. Come with everything it showed in the picture. I don't see anything wrong with it. The brackets you need for 3 different transmissions, a C4, C5, and C6 on a Ford. This also works for Chrysler, I think. Yeah. But we need to get started putting this together. On this car, well, with the kit, it came with a neutral safety switch and, oops, if I don't break them by dropping them, reverse backup light switch. I'm just going to go ahead and put them on there. I don't think we're going to be using them, but since they came with the kit, we're going to go ahead and put it on there. Use these 2 screws with these 2 nuts and lock washers. Really, the tiniest ones that came in the kit. Let me get those put on there real quick. Okay, there I have them in. You're going to want to insert your screws from the driver's side and have the nut on the right side, passenger side, because your cable is, your shifter cable goes here, and you don't want these screws sticking out and interfering with the cable there. See, what happens is whenever you pull this back, it'll touch those, and they're actually adjustable to a certain extent. That has a slot up here with like so you'll be able to adjust them up and down to get them to touch where you want to. There's about a 1/4 inch adjustment in that. Oh yeah, and when you tighten these up, just barely tighten them up tight enough to flatten the washer. You go any tighter than that and you'll break your switches. Okay, so here we are. I got the shifter position where I want it. I drilled 1 hole on the base plate, and I got to get a mark for the shifter cable hole, and it says to do 3.5 inches from here to the center of that mark of your hole. And if you look down, I don't know if I can get you to see it or not, but if you look down through there, that hole, that line marks up perfectly with this cable and where it goes on here. So get it where you want it, then measure 3.5 inches up, and I'm just going to use a step down bit until it's big enough for the cable to fit through. Okay, so I got it all put it in there and just got bolts stuck in the hole, the mounting holes. And my problem is the cable, it was hard to get it in there because the transmission housing is so close to my floor. I've probably got about an inch and a half gap in there. And what it's doing is it's pushing up on the cable because the cable's going to the passenger side. So I think I'm gonna have to cut out a notch here. And is it touching? It's touching on the bottom just a little bit too. So I'll have to trim that out just a little bit to relieve the pressure. I think I'll notch this one up about 1/2 inch, see what happens. We'll just have to figure out how we're going to seal it after that. Okay, so I got it all mounted up. Everything's bolted down, tightened up. That 1 hole didn't work up here. I ended up having to cut like a notch, probably about a 2.5 inch notch. And because my transmission housing is so close to the metal that the cable actually sets on it and curls around that way. It's the best I could do in this situation. Put a fuel line on here, cut it open, slid it over it. Then I zip tied it. You know, I had to cut a slit down the length of it to get it over the cable. And it's about 8 inches long, 6-8 inches long. Should be more than enough to protect it. This is a rubber, this is actually the window setting material for this car. And it worked perfectly to wrap around those edges on that. I did file them down and smooth them off, but I still wanted that on there. And now we're gonna go underneath and hook the brackets up. Now this transmission has apparently been modified before. So I'm gonna modify it again. But in order to put this bracket on there, I need to cut that tab off, because this needs to be somewhere straight up and down like that, and I can't get the bolt that tightens it up on there. So we're gonna cut right inside there in that nook, in that 90-degree corner there. There, you can see I cut that off there. This can go on there. Like that. And when you take these two bolts out to mount this. Okay, so I got that mounting bracket on there. Let these bolts tighten back down. And this here, actually, I have it on there backwards. It's supposed to go. I get it back off. Come here. That, and you don't make sure you don't push it on there too far. Basically kind of make it flush right there. So in order to get this to slide through that hole, we actually have to take all of this stuff off here. Except those. Remember how this goes back together. Something like that. Let me get some more parts. Okay, so now what I gotta do is find neutral, and then we'll tighten down the select lever straight up and down while the transmission is in neutral. All right, here she is, all done. Shifter handle on it, all bolted down. Like I said, this might be a little different for your car when it comes to where the cable is located. That's how I had to do mine. All in all, I think it was a fairly simple setup. I like it. Of course, you know, I'm gonna put the covers over it and everything after I get the carpet in. Those are just gonna stay in the box until it's time to do that. Switches are in there, but they won't be used on this car because it does not have backup lights or a neutral safety switch. But I just put it in there so we wouldn't lose them. And someday, if they ever want to put backup lights in, they'd be able to. Underneath here, I can show you all this. Okay, so the cable came out through the floorboard. There's the bolts. Oh, I did end up using my own 1/4-inch bolts, shorter ones, for the actual gear shift mount. The ones that came with it were just a little longer. I didn't want them sticking down that far, so I think I used inch or 1.25 bolts on that. The cable came down around down on the other side of the transmission, down underneath the tunnel, and then back up over the cross member to here, to this bracket we put in. Bolted on right there. Ran over to the new shift lever. Got that all adjusted just right. In order to set this, what they had me do was I put the transmission in neutral, and I put the gear shift to neutral, which would make this bar right here, the shift lever, straight up and down at a 90-degree angle to the transmission. And with that being in transmission to neutral, gear shift to neutral, I made this fit to the right length, adjusting it on these threads, and also adjusting it right here till it was the right length to slide in and get the cotter pin. I don't know if you can see that. Get the cotter pin in it. That's just a lock nut on here to keep this from turning. I don't think it could turn anyway, but still. I think it looks good. It works really good. It shifts smooth. Overall, not a bad kit. The brackets were all the right size. Oh, one thing. Whenever you hit this shifting lever on here, you need to make sure that this outside edge is flush where you mount it on here at before you clamp it down. If it's not flush, the tab on the back side right there, there's a groove, and it will slip down in that groove, and that's not what you want it to do. You want it to clamp onto the round part on the spline here. So make sure you got that right. You do not want that to go down in the groove. That's on the back side of this right there. It needs to stay over here with this. I actually took some pliers and I bent that in just a little bit to hold that bolt in, the tightening bolt. And it worked out pretty good. All right, I'm done with that and move on to the next thing. Keep plugging away at it bit by bit. We'll get her done. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.